Welcome to Dealstream, the channel that showcases the latest climate-positive startups from across Climate-KIC's pan-European network. I'm Andrew Burford, and today we'll be hearing from 5 really exciting teams from across Europe, from Berlin, Madrid, Barcelona, Oslo, and Zurich. We'll be hearing about a process that can make biomass an alternative to petroleum, a technology that moves the shipping industry closer to sustainability, an open marketplace for e-mobility, a self-driving perception technology, and high-speed, low-energy Hyperloop transportation. Each team that you'll be listening to today is looking for investors, so that could be you. If you'd like to read an executive summary about the teams, then head down to the Climate-KIC Investor Marketplace. There you'll be able to read about the problem, the solution, the technology, the market, the traction, the team, and the fundraising requirement. Not only will you be able to read about the startups of interest, but you'll be able to search for startups that meet your criteria. Registered investors can use the platform to contact startups directly and start a dialogue. As we're talking about investments, we should point out that the companies appearing in Dealstream are providing information to investment professionals, business angels, and other sophisticated investors in Europe. The presentations are not aimed at anyone else. Climate-KIC doesn't guarantee in any way that the performance of the companies you're about to see, and you should of course bear in mind that investments can go down as well as up. So if you'd like to put a question while we're streaming live today, then use the right hand side of the YouTube chat page, type in your question, that will come in to us here in the studio, and if we have time we'll ask that to the startup while we're live. So, first up, we have a process that can make biomass an alternative to petroleum. Presenting that is Florent Erguel from Bloom Biorenewables. So Florent, over to you.
Petroleum is everywhere, not only in the fuels used for transportation, but also in most of the products around us, plastics, cosmetics, textiles. For those products only, this represents 13 million barrels a day or 4 million tons of CO2. So it's urgent to find sustainable alternatives. And biomass is actually a very promising one because it's both sustainable and ubiquitous. But unfortunately today, the processes are inefficient and focus only on the low-value markets, and biomass is not cost competitive. At Bloom, we come with a disruptive process to provide high-quality ingredients and to unlock the access to high-value markets. And we make biomass cost competitive. We currently focus on the following markets. Cellulose is transformed to textile fibers. Hemicellulose is transformed to bioplastics, which are both recyclable and biodegradable. And lignin is transformed to cosmetics, inks, and fragrances, for which we received €1 million pre-order because our products are high quality, sustainable, and cost competitive. We already took the process from the proof of concept to the pilot phase, and we will continue acting as the manufacturer in the demo and commercial phase. And once we demonstrate the profitability at the commercial scale, we will start acting as the technology provider and sell licenses. In terms of fundraising, we already raised €3 million and are currently aiming to close a seed round, where half of it is provided by grants and awards, a quarter is already committed in equity, and a quarter is still available for additional investors. The main objectives is to complete batch production at 600 liters and to close pre-order deals. Thank you.
Florent, welcome to Dealstream.
Hello.
Great. Well, first up, where are you now in terms of your technological development? Could you just talk us through that?
So basically, over the past 3 years, we did 2 main things. First, we scaled up the technology. So starting from the gram scale to now the kilogram scale. And we are now piloting here in Switzerland to reach production at 600 liters. So this is a scale up. And the second thing we did is really making the process more industry compatible. So we went to the chemical industry and we asked feedback about the process. And all the chemicals which are either toxic or dangerous or expensive, we just replaced them with more green, cheap, and safe chemicals. So basically we made the process in a larger scale and we make it safer and more compatible to the industry.
Got it. And there's a few of these valorization technologies out there. What is the difference between your solution and some of the other solutions that are there?
Yeah, so actually the key in biomass valorization is being able to isolate each of the fractions. So you have cellulose, which everybody knows about, but you have other fractions. One is called lignin or one is called hemicellulose. And what biorefineries are typically doing today is focusing only on a single fraction, typically cellulose. And the rest is just degraded and then it's not valorized in just being burnt. So the key here is we want to do integral biomass fractionation and valorize all the fractions.
I mean, that leads on quite well to the technology. Could you talk us through sort of the core of it and what's behind the technology?
Yeah, actually, it's quite simple to explain. So typically, when you fractionate biomass, you want to isolate those fractions. You use acid, and if you use an acid, the fraction gonna condense to themselves. So the thing we do is simple. We just add a single ingredient, which we call a protecting group, and this protecting group is gonna stabilize those fractions and prevent these undesired condensation pathways. And this way is very simple, and we get pure and uncondensed fraction, and we can now valorize really all the biomass.
Great. There's a question from the audience here. What is the business model? Self-production or licensing of the technology, and if so, to whom?
So good question. So for now, we are a manufacturer, and we're going to keep growing through the demo scale production, and we're going to build a first commercial plant. So we will be manufacturer, and from that time, and this is only from that time that we will be able to attract licenses. So the key is manufacturing at the full scale, and then selling licenses to increase the revenues.
That makes sense. And how big is the team at Bloom? How many of there are you?
So now we are 10 people, actually growing very fast. We have 2 more people joining this summer. And we really have a core team which is able to address the key sectors of business development, business management, also a strong team for the R&D, the production, and quality control. And it's quite a young team, but recently we managed to attract really business people which have more experience to grow the company.
Great. Well, Florent, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on DealStream. Good luck with your fundraising, and we'll look forward to hearing how you get on. Take care.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that was Florent from Bloom. One of the questions I often get asked about is, what do Climate-KIC actually do? And right at the core of the Climate-KIC mission is innovation at a systems level, systems innovation as a shorthand. And we think this is the way to prompt exponential climate positive change. By systems innovation, we mean integrated and coordinated interventions in economic, political and social systems and along whole value chains through a portfolio of deliberate and connected innovation experiments. I'll talk more about what Climate-KIC does and also the areas it operates in later in the show. But next up we have a second startup, which is a technology that moves the shipping industry closer to sustainability. So I'd like to welcome Cristina Aleixendri from Bound for Blue. Cristina, over to you.
As far as speed, 90% of the world freight is then shipped on board some of the biggest and dirtiest machines on Earth. They have a direct impact on our planet's environment and causes thousands of deaths every year. Fortunately, new regulations have forced ship operators to use less pollutant fuels. However, they are more expensive, and this is a huge challenge for them since fuel represents 60% of their operating expenses. The solution is clear: burn less fuel, and that's the value proposition of our windsail. When installed onto a vessel, it uses the wind to push the ship forward, reducing the main engine power required, the fuel consumption, and the pollutant emissions. The system is completely foldable to the ship's deck to be safe at port operations and in harsh weather conditions. It's fully autonomous, so no extra crew is required. It offers low payback periods and is suitable for both existing and new build vessels. And just as an example, a Bound for Blue equipped tanker spares the yearly CO2 emissions of 540 diesel cars. The solution is suitable for almost every type of vessel, representing a total available market of 66.5 million euros. And focusing on the perfect match ship owners, it gives us a short-term market of 1.5 billion euros. As of today, we have received the support of both private and institutional investors. We have validated our solution. It is protected by several patents, and we have acquired our first paying customers. We are now looking to secure a 5 million euros funding round to boost our operations in Europe and Asia, to implement a worldwide industrial network, and for incremental development. Shipping is and will be a key industry for our society, but our responsibility is to provide the means to make it sustainable while being compatible with economic development. Do you want to stay with us?
Well, Cristina, welcome to Dillstream.
Thank you. Hello, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Very good. So first up, could you tell us a little bit about the business model?
So our business model is being an engineering company and offering to our customers the wind sail systems integrated on their vessels as a turnkey project. So we at Hyperloop, we oversee the project design, the development, the quality control, while the systems construction and the installations are assigned to Hyperloop trusted industrial partners from Europe to Asia. So the main business line is based on product sales plus support services based on data and software management.
Great, well that makes a lot of sense. And in terms of the team behind the project and yourselves, could you tell us a little bit about you?
So the Hyperloop is formed by a team of 15 people and combines several expertise in different fields of business and engineering, including aerospace engineering, naval architects, electronics engineering, statisticians, and mechanical engineering. We are also supported by our advisors and shareholders, such as Ignacio Redondo, who is former Maritime Transport Executive General Manager at Repsol, or Javier Llorente, well-known and reputable Spanish investor, co-investing with the European Investment Fund. So the design, manufacture, and launch of scientific capsules to the space, the construction of efficient wind towers, or the deployment of geodetic quality sea ice drift buoys in the Arctic are some examples that precede our team and that mark a business and technological trajectory for Hyperloop.
Great. And in terms of commercial projects and maybe scaling the business, could you talk a little bit about that and explain where you are there?
So this is something really interesting. Right now, our systems are being implemented in 4 ships from 3 different ship owners. We are currently now in the pilot phase, and we have successfully passed all the tests in the prototyping phase. And in line with this, I think that the secret sauce here in this business is scalability. So let me explain a little bit. So these 3 ship owners that are testing the wind sails at this moment own a total number of 52 vessels, which in total represent an estimated potential revenue of 16 million euros. So moreover, we are now in advanced negotiations with 5 ship owners that have already signed a memorandum of understanding and that have 566 vessels, which represent a potential revenue of more than 600 million euros. So I think that the magic part of this is the scalability. So you gain one customer, but you can apply it to the rest of the fleet. So that gives you big revenues just with one customer.
That sounds very exciting. And in terms of where you can start, I mean, could you give us an idea? There's a question from the audience. What market segments are you focusing on or starting with?
So we are focusing on the cargo segment, specifically on the tanker and the bunker segment. And we are focused on Europe and Asia.
Great. And then finally, your vision. Where will you be 5 years, 10 years from now?
10 years. So our vision is to power the world with wind. And the main idea behind is to apply the wind sails also for the generation of hydrogen, of energy, but in a renewable way. So at first, the company started with the idea of applying these wind sails to generate power. So we decided to divide the project, and then there's this line, which we are working right now. So in this 5 years frame and so on, this is the project we're involved, but in a bigger view, we envision to apply these sails for energy, sustainable energy generation.
Fantastic. Well, I'm so pleased that there's activity in shipping, because I think it's one of those sectors that has been neglected for a while. So it's great what you're doing. Thank you very much for joining us on the Dillstream. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So next up, we're going to have a news roundup of the latest listings on the marketplace, and Mark de Kruijff from the Investor Marketplace team is going to talk us through those. Mark, over to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Mark and I'm one of the Investor Marketplace managers. As always, I'm going to give you a roundup of the 3 latest listings on the Investor Marketplace. We'll start off with Kruijff from Edinburgh, UK. The Kruijff is a small robotic device that's able to crawl through bulk solids. As such, it provides grain storage keepers with a way to maintain the quality of their grain in an unprecedented way. They're looking to raise a total amount of €400,000 for their seed round, with which they can expand their team and further product development. Second for the day is Kruijff from Saarbrücken, Germany. The Kruijff is a sustainable energy system that's based on high temperature energy storage. It allows recycling of waste energy and thus saving energy and reducing CO2 emissions. They're looking to raise a total amount of €1 million for hiring sales, business and engineering specialists and to propel the rollout of their company. Third and last for the day is Mixteresting from Leonding, Austria. Mixteresting provides the first global database for concrete mixtures, which enables virtual simulations and thus shorter, cheaper innovation cycles. Also, it will make the mixtures of concrete more reproducible. They're looking for a total amount of €600,000 for their seed round, with which also they want to expand their team and speed up the go-to-market phase. That's it for now. If you want to learn more about these listings or all the other listings on the Investor Marketplace, please do visit the website. Thank you, and then we'll go back to you, Andrew.
Well, thank you, Mark. That's really good to see some exciting listings coming. So the next team that we're going to be talking to is an open marketplace for e-mobility, and Paul Christian Meyer from Meshcrafts will be presenting. So Paul, over to you.
Hi, I'm Paul from Meshcrafts. We have developed an open marketplace for e-mobility. The market for e-mobility has seen a tremendous growth in the last years. In 2010, there were 10,000 electric cars worldwide, and last year we passed 5 million cars. And this growth is expected to continue, reaching more than 250 million cars in the next 10 to 15 years. The growth in electric vehicles causes some challenges. First of all, there has to be a fast rollout of charging infrastructure to charge these vehicles. Secondly, with infrastructure in place, there will be constraints on the electricity grid with congestions and high peak loads. To solve these challenges, we have developed Smart Charge, a software solution for EV charging, bringing significant value to all the stakeholders in the e-mobility sector while taking all their needs into consideration. The solution is sold on a software as a service model to our customers, giving Meshcrafts a monthly recurring revenue per month and a share of the turnover for the charging. Since our first chargers were installed in 2017, we have experienced a substantial growth with more than 900% annual growth on the chargers in contract. We are also proud to say that Meshcrafts installed Scandinavia's first vehicle-to-grid site last year, where we can take energy from the car back to the grid or back to the building, balancing the load on the local grid at peak hours. Our market strategy is to cement our position as a market leader in Norway and expand our services into new markets, focusing on Germany and the German-speaking market. This because it's Europe's largest car market and with a fast-growing e-mobility share. We are now in the market for 1.5 to 2 million euros to fund this expansion. The funds will be spent on strengthening our team and increasing sales and marketing activities in the selected markets. The funding is expected to bring us to break even on the current plan. The future is electric, and I look forward to answer your questions to this. Thank you.
Well, Paul, welcome to Dillstream.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you.
That's a pleasure. So could you first up just talk about what you believe Meshcrafts' advantage is, or the unique selling point that you bring to the marketplace?
I think our advantage is that we've been developing Smart Charge, this software solution of ours from Norway, which is basically the only mass market for e-mobility at the moment, where more than 50% of new car sales are electric, and in addition, there's 25-30% hybrid electrics. So we have a real market to test our solution on, and we have real everyday problems for the users of e-mobility, and we solve these challenges to them, and in a good way. So I think it's very good.
Great. And in terms of the type of customers that you've been able to get, and also the other side of it, the churn, could you give us a little indication as to what that's like?
The type of customers, we have customers in basically all this customer segment that we have identified for e-mobility, ranging from small businesses and apartment buildings wanting to own and control their own charging infrastructure for electric vehicles, with the largest site being 150 charging points in one garage in an apartment building that manage the infrastructure or the charging themselves for all the people living there. Up to utilities, we have signed some contracts with utilities in Norway using our software platform to control the charging in their network. And I would say now we have 7,000 charging points in contracts, and we have a churn. Since we started in 2017, we have 30 of them are gone. So it's basically no churn.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What a great result. I can see a question from the audience, Paul. What challenges do you see in scaling to other markets, and how do you plan to meet these?
The scaling is finding the right partners, because our solution is ready to scale. We have grown from 1 year ago we had less than 1,000 charging stations, and now, as I said, we have contracts for more than 7,000. So, and the scaling there has been no problem at all for our platform. It's based on a Microsoft Azure platform, so the growth potential, this grows with our needs. So finding the right partners and of course the right investors is key here as well.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're on the inflection point of scaling, which is great. I mean, the funding you've got now is Series A, which is funding for growth. Could you talk about further funding rounds?
Yeah, for now, this funding we're looking for now will bring us to break even on the current plan. That plan is then based on cementing the market in Scandinavia and working further on expansion to the DACH region, or Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Of course, moving into other markets, we will need additional funding, and that we will pursue on an opportunistic basis when we get to find the right partner and the possibilities.
Sure.
We believe we're just on the beginning of something that's going to be huge.
Interesting question coming in from the audience, Paul, from Vipuri Tufani. COVID-19 has driven Germany to push even harder for EVs. Do you see a challenge in scalability for a market such as Germany?
No, Germany is, to us, definitely a really interesting market. And I think what we see in the market in most of the European countries now, during the COVID-19, we've seen that the increasing sales and the sales of electric vehicles has continued to increase, while all the other cars have stopped the sales. So e-mobility is up, while combustion engines are down. And some of the pushes in the German market from the government is also supporting the transition to e-mobility. And in addition, I think Germany is definitely into car sharing, and where we see possibilities for e-mobility as well.
It sounds like it's a very exciting time. Well, Paul, thank you so much for joining us on Dealstream. I really appreciate your time, and good luck with the Series A.
Thank you. Looking forward to you from all of the audience here. Thank you. again.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, very exciting time for Meshcraft. So one of the other areas I'd like to talk about the Climate-KIC is with deep demonstrations. And by taking the IPCC 1.5 degree report as a point of departure, if you like, we use these impact goals as a frame of reference to test for non-linear systemic approaches to transformation. So things like promoting retrofit and decentralized energy, or nurturing nature-based resilience for cities, accelerating sustainable urban mobility, building circular material flows, rebooting regional economies, nurturing forests in integrated landscapes, reducing industry emissions, making finance mainstream for climate, and fostering bankable green assets in cities, making agriculture climate smart, and reforming food systems. So really that's just a few of the things that Climate-KIC is working on. And so the next team that I'd like to introduce you to is a team that has a self-driving perception technology. So Stefan from Peregrine will be introducing this. Stefan, over to you.
In 2025, all new cars will carry fully connected camera systems. And this, we believe, will change the mobility ecosystem as we know it today. For years, we've been promised an autonomous driving revolution. We were told that by soon we will have no more traffic accidents and zero emissions. In fact, the opposite has actually happened. With growing transportation services for people and for goods, our roads have continued to become more congested. Urban roads remain dangerous, especially for cyclists and pedestrians, and emissions are at an all-time high. We at Peregrine, we know that there's a better way. With extensive experience in developing autonomous cars in Silicon Valley and in Germany, we started Peregrine to reimagine the use of self-driving perception technology, basically the eyes of future autonomous vehicles. Now we are bringing it to every car, no matter the model, make, or the age. Our visual intelligence and perception algorithms truly understand what is happening on the road. They have been trained on millions of data points and are self-learning. This means that if a new situation arises, it is collected, examined, and the model is updated and distributed within hours. And this fast-paced style of development means it is actually just a matter of miles before we can overtake incumbents. We are working today with commercial fleet managers, fleet insurers, telematics service providers, as well as automotive players, allowing each of them to use Peregrine for part of their own solutions. As an example, Peregrine saves fleet managers and their insurers up to 3,000 euros per car per year on average. 4 out of 5 drivers significantly improve their driving behavior, and accident numbers are reduced. So at Peregrine, we empower teams to build with us together a safer and more sustainable mobility ecosystem for all. Thanks very much, Andrew, for having us today. I'm looking forward to the questions.
Well, Stefan, welcome to Dealstream. How are you?
I'm good, Andrew. Thank you for having us.
That's a pleasure. First of all, could you tell us about the team and a little bit about your backgrounds?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Well, we started Peregrine 1.5 years ago with a team of 3 founders. We know us since many, many years. We studied together, worked together for several companies, and especially together for the past 20 years, we worked for self-driving car companies like the teams at TomTom, Bosch, VW, and also groups at ETH in Zurich and in Berlin. And so for us, it was just the right time to start something new and to make that technology available to so many other sectors where we believe they're badly needed. And in the mobility ecospace, nobody has access to such a nice technology.
Great. And I've got a question coming in from the audience here. Why did you pick safety services for commercial fleets as your beachhead market?
I think it's super interesting at the moment to look at commercial fleets. When you think about it, for us as Peregrine, every mile counts. You know, there's a currency in euros, but there's also a currency in kilometers, we could say. And transportation of goods and last mile services are growing, especially that was true before the COVID-19 pandemic, but it's also now true in the last couple of months. I don't know how many packages you had more sent to your house compared to the time before that. And so when we look at that, we see also that these companies, they need new drivers and they need to ensure safety and also the efficiency in their daily operations. And that is exactly where we go in, because we believe that video is the missing link in the existing telematics space to explain why things are happening on the road.
I can see another question from the audience. How will you invest the money raised in the upcoming seed round?
So for us, it's super important to invest that money that we are raising now into the launch of what we call our fleet intelligence platform, where we basically transport all the knowledge we gain from video footage directly to our clients. And the system is already live with corporate clients in the space of insurance, in the space of express delivery, and we want to launch this and scale this together with our new investors. But on the other hand, we want to reach a milestone that we set ourselves. We are aiming to drive 100 million kilometers across all fleets. And by that, having significantly more miles driven than incumbents. When you think about camera system development in automotive and other domains, we would drive directly in urban environments where people walk, where people cycle, where bad accidents happen that we really want to get rid of. And that is exactly why we need to do this. And in addition, we want to file 2 patents this year.
Fantastic. You mentioned scaling in there. Could you give us a sense of, how you would scale, what your scaling plan is?
So for us, we directly work with delivery companies that operate trucks, that operate light commercial vehicles, that do 100 kilometers a day, 150 kilometers a day. And we integrate our camera systems directly at the windshield of these cars. And you can also, in addition, think of us teaming up with telematics service providers that are already partnering with a lot of these companies, and we add our video services on top of that. So the commercial fleet market is our beachhead market. And interestingly, there is a joint interest also in the insurance space, because the risk that is associated with driving that is shared between the insurer and also the person that actually bought the car. And we believe that commercial fleet insurance and the underwriting business in insurance is actually our second step that we do together. That is also why we already today work with leading insurances in Europe.
Got it. And are you unique in what you do? Are there any other players out there? And if so, what makes you different from them? What's your value add, if you like?
Well, personally, I think it's always important that also other people are looking in the same domains, right? But I think we have a unique idea around this. We have been developing self-driving systems for the past 10 years each. We have seen many approaches how you would build an automated system. But on the other hand, we divide the competition into 4 segments, which is smart cameras, which is telematics, the post-processing for video materials, and the data brokerage in automotive. And that is actually how we split the scene, and we think we have a unique approach how to combine the 4 and position ourselves there. But obviously, in depth, we can have also follow-on chats with everyone who is interested in that, and how we seek to enter also the automotive market and establish a new business model there.
That sounds very powerful. Well, Stefan, thank you so much for joining us on DealStream. It's been a pleasure to have you, and good luck with the fundraise.
Thanks for having us today, Andrew. And I enjoyed the rest of the show. I'll continue to watch.
Okay, good for you. Take care. Bye-bye. Great. Well, next up, we have a news roundup of the upcoming features in the investor marketplace. And to give us the rundown is Mara from the investor marketplace team. So Mara, over to you.
Hi, I'm Mara from the Investor Marketplace. let me briefly tell you about some of the new features coming up in the investor marketplace in the near future. First of all, we are planning to open the marketplace to other green tech accelerators in Europe. This means that the investor marketplace will offer even more high-quality startup profiles, with the aim to become the one-stop shop for all climate-positive deals. Secondly, the search functionalities are improved in the next version of the investor marketplace, so that you can find your startup of interest with ease. Further on, we'll ensure better access to events online across Europe and the world, of course, when we can all start meeting again. And lastly, we'll offer you opportunities to collaborate and connect with other investors within the platform. And who knows, maybe some green investing partnerships will be created. That's it from me for now. Please make sure you log into the marketplace soon and let us know how you like the new features.
Well, thank you, Maris. So some great new features coming up in the next few weeks, and keep posted. So next up, we have a very exciting startup in the form of high-speed, low-energy Hyperloop transportation. And here to present that is Luis Navarro from Zeleros Hyperloop. Luis, over to you.
Good afternoon. My name is Luis Navarro. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Zeleros Hyperloop. Welcome to the future of long-distance transportation. But first, what is Hyperloop? Hyperloop consists on a vehicle that levitates and travels through a tube where the air has been previously extracted. Thus, we can reduce the drag, the friction with the air, and we can achieve super high speeds up to 1,000 km per hour with a very low energy consumption. With this system, with Hyperloop, we can achieve one of the big milestones that our society is challenging in the future decades, which is decarbonizing transport, in this case long-distance transportation, which today is mainly covered by aviation. In this sense, at Zeleros, we are developing a unique solution for Hyperloop that consists on an electric aircraft that travels through that tube. Then our propulsion system is onboarded, is within the vehicle instead of the track. Then we can dramatically reduce the cost of infrastructure per kilometer. And this is one of our main objectives as we envisage Hyperloop for long distance. So then we need a cost-effective solution to build long routes. In order to do that, we are facing a roadmap which is challenging, as the first Hyperloop will be operational for passenger transport in 2030. Next year, in 2021, we will be deploying our 3 km test track to test our first prototype of a 10-meter length vehicle. To do that, we need financial support, and we are getting on board partners, relevant first-class worldwide partners that are supporting us in this trip, and also investors. Recently, in April 2020, we closed a 7 million investment round. However, we left a second stage funding round until July 2020 to incorporate the new investors that can support us in this process. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Well, Luis, welcome to Dealstream. It's great to have you here.
Hello, my pleasure.
Fantastic. So first up, could you talk about the main challenges in global mobility, and where can Hyperloop be the solution to this?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there are three different, we can say, main levers that are calling for innovators to bring new solutions into the transport or mobility arena. For instance, according to the United Nations, in 2050, more than 90% of the population in Western regions will live in cities. Then new ways of transport need to be in place to connect those cities, to connect people, to connect goods. Also, today, some of these movements, this transport, are carried out by planes, for instance, which are pollutant. And even the congestion of the air traffic is a problem, as every 15 years, according to the international agencies of aviation, and the number of airplanes in there are doubling. Thus, this is not scalable. Hyperloop can bring a differential solution here, as has the potential to decarbonize long-distance transportation. Routes ranging from 400 to 1,500 kilometers are especially fitted for a Hyperloop in order to decarbonize the transport of passenger and goods.
And as I understand it, and Professor, I'm not an expert in this, but there are about 6 companies in the race to develop Hyperloop worldwide. And why is Zeleros superior to the others?
Yeah, these 6 companies are extremely good innovators and technologists. Smart people are working really hard to bring Hyperloop into our reality. However, we were quite pragmatic from the very beginning. As this consists on a large infrastructure system, the cost of infrastructure is critical in order to make it affordable and feasible for most of the regions. So not only in rich countries, they can develop this system because it becomes quite expensive. So in this case, we thought that our core should be to decrease the cost per kilometer of the Hyperloop infrastructure. And this is why we brought a unique idea based on the fact that we are building an electric plane that travels through a tube instead of the air. So then we bring all the complexity, all the technology into the vehicle, and we simplify extremely the tube, the infrastructure. Thus, we can reduce dramatically the cost per kilometer of infrastructure. And this is something that not positions Zeleros as the preferred solution for long-distance transportation.
Okay, there's a question from the audience here. Does the success of this depend upon the standardization of Hyperloop tracks across Europe?
Yeah, this is a very good question. 3 months ago, the first technical committee under the umbrella of the European Commission and the General Direction of Mobility in Europe launched the official Hyperloop committee, and that was a breakthrough for us. All the European companies, also the American companies, are involved in this group. Zeleros is one of the founders, we can say, of the companies that pushed this group at the beginning. And we are working in order to, we can say, not avoid the problems that, for instance, for the railway sector, they had dealing with interoperability among countries. So yes, Hyperloop will be European fitted to cover large distances crossing different countries from the very beginning. That will be a design factor that we are introducing all the Hyperloop developers.
Fantastic. And I saw that you had raised a really solid 7 million of investment recently. Are you still looking for investors and partners?
Yeah, Zeleros is a long-term project. I mean, considering that the first operational Hyperloop will be in 2030, we envisage to continue bringing first-class innovators, industrial entities, and investors and financial partners to our project. Therefore, in the short term, we also envisage to bring investors to our project. And every, we can say, contribution from the strategic perspective is always welcome. So very happy to hear from investors worldwide that really want to disrupt and reshape the future of mobility.
Fantastic. Well, I have to say I'm really looking forward to getting on one of these machines myself. Lewis, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for joining us on DealStream.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that concludes the teams that we're talking to today, and each of those teams is looking for investment. But the other side of the story is that sometimes a team has just raised investment and therefore they can make their vision into a reality. And I'm very pleased to introduce a short news update, some breaking fundraising news from Christophe Debolt from Climeworks. Christophe, over to you.
Hi, I'm Christophe, co-founder and co-director at Climeworks. At Climeworks, we build big machines capturing carbon from the air and storing it underground in order to remove it permanently from the atmosphere. You might wonder why on earth are we capturing CO2 from the air with machines, because, for example, trees have been doing that for millions of years. Well, as of today, unfortunately, humanity has emitted too much CO2 in the atmosphere already that the job ahead of us of removing carbon from the air cannot be done by trees alone. It needs to be complemented by machines like the ones we are building in order to get a sufficient amount of carbon from the atmosphere so that we can achieve climate targets. Today, I'm very happy to inform you that we successfully closed a financing round, actually in the middle of Corona crisis, which is a quite substantial financing round in our industry. It is $75 million US, and this money should support us over the next years to do, like, very simply speaking, two things. On the one hand, work on our market. You might be interested to know that we, for example, have a web shop where we're selling Climeworks subscriptions, so you can go to climeworks.com and have your Climeworks subscription, which helps you to permanently remove CO2 from the air. So that is one thing we're doing with the money, expanding our market traction, so to say, get people inspired about our solution. And the second thing we're doing with the money is work on our technology. Currently, the biggest criticism around direct air capture, how it's called what we're doing, is that it's too expensive and it is a small scale. So a large chunk of the capital we raised will also be used in order to work down our cost curve and increase the scale of our operations. Well, with that, I'd like to send a big thank you to our investors to support us throughout this demanding times and for the long-term interest in what we're doing.
Well, thank you, Christoph. I'm personally a big fan of carbon negative technology, and so this was really good news. Well, so that's it from Dealstream for today. We hope you've enjoyed the show, and if you'd like to be notified of the next stream, then do log into the marketplace. You've got the address up there. Sign up and you'll be sent emails of the next stream. Until then, it's goodbye from me, Andrew Burford. Take care and stay safe.